So in my previous video, I changed the case on this Nintendo DS only to find out the actual DS game cartridge slot isn't working properly. Now this has sat around for several years, I didn't know whether it worked or not. However, changing the cartridge port hopefully should now fix that problem. So without further ado, let's see what we can do with it. So this is the original cartridge port in here, the DS cartridge port. And it just looks a little bit funky. Rather than spare you the thing of me stripping it all apart again, it's just the tri-wing screws for the outer case and then the crosshead screws for the inner case. So here I'm just trying to desolder it, and I have to say this is a little bit fiddly to get it off. Not gonna lie, you definitely need patience for this one. I'm using flux on this desoldering braid. Just helps draw the solder away, and that's what I want to try and do, remove as much solder as possible. The more solder that comes off, the easier it's going to be for this to come off. I'm also using a blade connector on my soldering iron because again it just helps distribute the heat a little bit wider. So these four I just mounted to the printed circuit board. These are just kind of, again, when you're putting a game in and out, it just gives it a little bit of extra security and fastening. So again, what I'm trying to do here is just heat them a little bit and lift them. Again, you've got to be very careful because you can see how close these components are nearby. So once I've got these four corners with enough solder removed from them, you can see it's starting to lift slightly. So what I'm going to try and do is just apply a little bit of heat and just try and get it away from that printed circuit board a bit. Now this video is only about 7 minutes long. But in reality, I would say this probably took me about 15 minutes, 20 minutes to get to this stage. So now with all them four corners lifted, the next thing is now trying to remove as much solder from these pins at the back, as much as I can possibly get off there. And again, you just got to be careful for surface mount components because you don't want to heat them. So you can see as I'm doing this, some of them are coming away and some of them are sticking. I'm not pulling too hard here because I don't want to rip tracks off the circuit board. So you can see some of them came away with it and some of them have just stuck there. So now the next thing I just want to do is use a pair of tweezers, just heat them and remove them. Again, it's a little bit of a fiddly job. But like with most of this stuff, I think patience pays dividends sometimes. So now I'm just going to use a little bit of desoldering braid with some flux on it again, and I'm just cleaning up the solder that's already on there. Just clean up the pads really, make sure they're all in good condition, ready to accept the new cartridge slot. Just going to use some isopropyl alcohol, just give it one final blast. Old toothbrush just to kind of clean up the contacts, just clean up around it, remove any of that residual flux that's come off of the desoldering braid, just get them nice and clean, ready to accept the new cartridge port. So this is our new one. Again, I bought this on eBay. It wasn't much, I think it was under $10, about £5-6 I believe, so yeah, quite quite cheap. And again, just making sure the actual cartridge itself does go in. It's got the little clip so it retains it, and then you push it again to take it out. The good thing again with this is there are locating pins, so once you've located it on them locating pins, it is quite easy. Everything lines up, all the tracks line up. So right now I'm just putting some blobs of solder on it just to hold it down on the four corners. That'll make it a lot easier when I go to solder the back, so it won't be moving around on me. So what I've done there, I've just gone for opposite corners for now, and then once I'm happy that it's sitting flat, just finish it off with the other two opposite corners. Trying to get in there. So now what I'm going to do is just apply a bit of solder to the edge of my soldering blade, and I'm just going to run that backwards and forwards over the contacts. And again, just be gentle here, you don't need to go too heavy, just need to make sure they got enough heat that the solder can go from the pin down to the track. If I zoom in a little bit, you'll be able to see it a lot clearer. So again, where it looks like it's run out of a bit of solder, I'm just applying a little bit of extra solder here. And again, don't be too worried if you get some bridge tracks. As you can see to the left, so to the left there, it looks like I've got a couple of bridge tracks there, so I'm just going to use my desoldering braid again to kind of clean that up, but just want to make sure everything's kind of a bit nice and hot and it's making a good contact. Where you can see there, as it's bubbling up, it's kind of, it is making a good contact with the back. Just to clean up them contacts that are bridged, just remove the excess solder here. And again, it's one of them things, if you remove too much, then just apply a little bit extra again until you're kind of happy with the connection. As you can see, I'm taking quite a bit of solder off of there. And again, the other issue you'll get sometimes with the desoldering braid is where it's got so much solder on it, it will stick to the, it basically solders itself down to the contacts. But I got it away. I'm happy with that. Everything's got a good blob of solder on it. I think that's worth a test now and see what we've got, see if we've got a working DS or not. And again, with this, use a magnifying glass, use whatever. Make sure you get in there and you can see all them contacts are good. So if I turn it on, there we go, the game's showing. So we've now taken that broken DS and turned it into a fully working DS again with a new case. Just making sure everything's working here, all the buttons and the screens and everything, and it all looks good.
Oh no.
So the final part here, I'm just putting a little rubber bungs in here to cover them screw holes in the top of the case. So here I'm just removing the outer screen that came with the new case and putting on the original one from the pink DS, which is in nice condition. Just going to give the screens a little clean up as well. Again, it doesn't matter. I'm not trying to pass this off as brand new. It just, usable now. That's really all I'm after. And I do like the contrast of the white buttons on the black background as well. I think that just gives it a little bit of extra personality. So, that is mission successful. I will see you in the next one. However, I do have this board left over now, just going spare. So, the next thing I fancy doing is a Game Boy Advanced Macro XL using this and one of the bottom screens. So again, no need to wait. See this next video and see how I got on. Bye for now.